The purpose of human life is to serve and to show compassion and the will to help others. Good day, students. In today's class, we are going to deal with the fifth poem titled The River, written by Caroline Ann Bowles, year 1786 to 1854. She was an English poet. She was a poet of great merit and produced some of the best work at the threshold of the Victorian era. She wrote various other works including The Little Ladybird, chapter on churchyard and tales of the factories. Children, have you ever been to a river? Yes, some of you have been to river and some of them not. Where we can see river? In the villages. Can you describe the beauty of the river you have seen? Yeah, the river is very beautiful and it is crystal clear and it sparkles when it flows. Do you think rivers have life like human beings? Yes, undoubtedly, rivers have life like human beings because they keep moving from one place to another and finally enter the sea. Like human beings, they also go through difficult phases and moods of life. The poem, The River. In this poem, the poet Caroline glorifies the river as the vital power. The different stages of life are brought in through the imagery used in the poem. The poet compares the flow of river with different stages of human life. She compares the river to an innocent child at play, to a reckless youth, and to a hard-working man, and finally to a matured man who silently marches towards the goal. Now, let's see the poem. Poet Bowles describes a river in all its vitality and splendor. The poet compares the 4 stages of human life in the course of the river. Now, let's see the first stanza. In the first stanza, the poet says that the river sparkles brightly on its way. It goes on dancing over the yellow pebbles, glancing through the flowers and leaves of trees. These acts of the river are compared to a curious and innocent child at play. That is like a child who plays hide and seek. So, in the first stanza, the poet compares the river with the child. Now, let's see the second stanza. In the second stanza, the poet calls it the swelling river, which means it keeps on rising. The river is compared to a reckless youth who goes through rough and smooth patches of life. Like a youth, here the river becomes louder, faster and sweeping rough rocks and banks where roses grow. Here in the second stanza, the poet compares the river with the reckless youth. Now here comes the third stanza. In the third stanza, the river, which is full, becomes a hard-working man who is at the prime phase of life. Here, the deep and broad river seems motionless, but it keeps moving towards the sea like a matured man who silently marches towards the goal. Here in the third stanza, the river is like a man in his prime. That is, maturely and silently marches towards the goal. The poet concludes the last stanza, that is in the fourth stanza, the long journey of the river reaches the endless sea like a human life attains eternity. The sea's depth has never been measured by weighted line, and none has gone by ship completely around the sea, which can be compared to eternity. That is, the human life ends. That is the last stage of the poem. 4 stages of life are compared with the 4 stages in the course of the river. At last, the poet concludes by saying that the long journey of the river reaches the endless sea like a human life attains eternity. Thank you, students. Have an amazing day.